Glenn, are you seeing signs of this as well? I mean, do you think this flight to the suburbs could have legs?
Oh, it's a massive migration. We're seeing a great dispersion of Americans across the country. Why would you pay the tax to live in San Francisco, Seattle, New York, Los Angeles, when you could have the same job but be in Charleston, South Carolina, or Sacramento, or Grand Rapids, Michigan? So we see many people refiguring where they want to live. They want to spend more money on their home, but they don't necessarily want to pay the tax to live in an urban area.
Yeah, it's a Lollapalooza effect, to quote Charlie Munger. You need like 10 big things kind of all come together,
Yeah.
and those would include the high cost of living prior to this, the coronavirus pandemic showing people the appeal of leaving, now some of the unrest, on and on, just all of these different factors. This is especially about people leaving Silicon Valley. So in that way, it could boost some of the kind of the secondary urban cities. Do you see that trend playing out, or do you think it's people just kind of going to the suburbs, period?
No, I think it's very strong in the Bay Area. Demand for Oakland housing is very strong. Sacramento is very strong. You also see some people going to Phoenix, which isn't a natural place to go to if you're in Silicon Valley, but it's where we see some of our customers moving. So I think that it's on like Donkey Kong. You're just going to see a very rapid dispersion of people. It was already happening before this pandemic because of the affordability crisis. I think there's new urban anxiety because of the protests. And I would say that the pandemic did not rattle home buyers very much. There was a few weeks where people were really worried about it, but the protests are having a more fundamental effect that's making people feel like something deeply wrong might be going on with America. And we've just seen less demand significantly this week, especially in urban areas.
Really? So actually what you would say about the housing market right now is that it's potentially seeing more of a seizure in this week than it did during the pandemic.
In the pandemic, last week of March, demand was very low. That was the point at which people had reached their maximum level of anxiety. It's where you saw this unemployment. But we had recovered from that, and now it just feels like a second blow that there is so much unrest. And obviously, the housing market is not the primary concern here. We should be worried about whether it's a fair country for everyone. But I do think that that's having an economic impact.
Finally, we just spoke about, how home prices could be headed lower over the next year or so. And one of the companies looking to relocate out of the Bay Area is Stitch Fix, which says that it would give people the decision to either go with the company out of California at a lower pay rate or not. So what do you think happens to home prices if people can't keep their, big city income as they move out of the big cities? Will that put downward pressure on them?
It's always hard to say what's going to happen to San Francisco home prices because that market is different than any other real estate market in the United States. But my sense is that there's certainly going to be less upward pressure on the prices. You had just a year ago Facebook and Google trying to build their own housing for their own employees. And that was just peak madness, I think. And so you have plenty of companies saying you can work from wherever you like, and you're going to start seeing people leave. You're having other companies saying we're getting out of Dodge. And so I think it's a real issue for San Francisco, and it's going to be a real issue for every city. We've had years to address the affordability crisis, to build more inventory, to make this a good place for people to live and work. And now they're just going to go if we haven't solved that problem by now.